Hi guys, welcome back to Rock Fabulous 40s, and today I'm going to do a dupes video. I've not really done a dupes video before, at least I don't think I have. Anyways, today what I'm going to be talking about is the Lorac Pro palette, this guy right here, and the Makeup Revolution Iconic Pro palette, these two guys here. The Lorac Pro palette was $42 when I purchased it. I really do love this palette. You guys can see it's gotten a lot of love. This is actually one of my favorite palettes. The Lorac Pro Shadows is one of my absolute favorite formulas of shadows. The Iconic Pro is the exact same shades, and I'm going to try not to blind you with this mirror here, the exact same shades. Okay, so what I wanted to do is oh, by the way, the Makeup Revolution Iconic Pro, I believe, was $10. Might have been $8, but I believe it was $10. And let me actually show them to you side by side here. Or actually, here, let's do like that. Okay, so you guys can actually see that the colors are just identical. There is absolutely no difference in the colors in these palettes when you look at them in the palettes in the pan. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to see if the Lorac Pro palette, the expensive palette, was better than the Makeup Revolution palette. I wanted to see if the Makeup Revolution palette could stack up to one of my all-time favorites, this Lorac Pro. So let me go ahead and throw in a couple of swatches here, and you guys will see that I am swatching the mattes first, and the Makeup Revolution is actually on the top, the Lorac Pro is on the bottom. And then you guys will see swatches of the shimmers, and again the Makeup Revolution is on the top and the Lorac Pro is on the bottom, and you guys can see the differences in the shades. Every single one of these swatches was done with the brush because I thought that you guys would actually get a better view of what the swatch looked like when done with the brush. I don't like it a lot of times when I see swatches that people just use their finger and swatch stuff on their arms, because you're not actually getting the true pigment of the color of how it's going to apply to your lids unless you're constantly applying your shadows with your fingers. So that's what the swatches look like. I'm going to go ahead and throw in a demo here as to what these look like when I apply. I am applying the Lorac Pro to one eye and the Makeup Revolution to the other, and I'll be explaining as I'm applying them which one is going on which eye. So, well, kind of explaining. Anyway, so let me go ahead and toss in the demo. Okay, so if this comes off a little orange, I do apologize. I've got some different types of lights on around me so I can actually do these shadows. And if you notice me kind of looking away, like looking this way, this is where my mirror is like right there. So if you see me focusing that way, then that's what I'm doing. I'm just looking in that mirror so I can actually see the application I'm doing. Alright, so I'm going to be using... Gosh, I'm noisy. I'm going to be using a couple of different brushes here, and in between each palette, like if I go from the high-end to the drugstore palette, I'll use my little DIY color switch here to clean off the brush, so that way there's no remnants of the other palette left on the brush when I apply it to the eye. Alright, I'm going to start with the Lorac Pro palette, and I'm going to start with the color called Taupe, which is the third shade in, and I'm going to put it on my big fluffy brush here. Oh, and just so you guys know, I did prime. I always prime my eyes. I used my Urban Decay Primer Potion in Enigma on both eyes. Okay, now I'm going into the one that is a dupe for the taupe in the Makeup Revolution palette. Okay, now so far, because these are just kind of a light wash of color that I'm just kind of using as a transition shade, so far these both apply the same, at least as far as pigment and blendability go. Okay, next I'm going to go into the one in the Lorac Pro palette that's called Light Pink, and I'm going to use my flat little brush here, and this is just a BH Cosmetics 103. Okay, And I'm just placing this one right under the brow bone. And I'm going into the Dupe shade in the Makeup Revolution palette. Now this one seems to be quite a bit more powdery. Still kind of the same similar effect though so far. Okay, so now I'm going to take my crease brush. This is just my e.l.f. crease brush, and I'm going to go into the one on the Lorac Pro side that's called Mauve. I'm just going to put that just right directly into the crease. Okay, then I'm going to take that same brush after cleaning it off here, and I'm going to go into the Dupe shade of the Makeup Revolution palette. Okay, and again, the Makeup Revolution palette on this one is quite a bit more powdery, and it just doesn't seem to be laying down the same amount of pigment as the Lorac one did, so I think I'm going to have to dip back in. Alright, now I'm going to go back to my BH Cosmetics flat brush here. I'm going to go into the shade called Pewter. And I'm just going to place that on the lid. Okay, and then I'm going to go into the Dupe side on the Makeup Revolution palette. Now this one, I actually kind of like the way the Makeup Revolution palette came out just a little bit better. Let me try to reapply the Pewter from the Lorac Pro and see if I can't get it to look a little bit more like the other side. I think what it is the Lorac side is just a little bit more pigmented, and that's why it's coming off a little darker. Maybe I just need to build up the Makeup Revolution side. Okay, then I'm going to take this BH Cosmetics 122, this guy right here, and I'm going to go into the one in the Lorac Pro palette that's called Champagne. And I'm going to apply this to the inner corner and just a little bit up onto the lid. Okay, now I'm going to go into the Dupe shade from the Makeup Revolution palette. Okay, now I'm going to take my e.l.f. crease brush again. I've cleaned it off. I'm going to go into the Lorac Pro palette in the one called Deep Purple. And I'm just barely dipping into that one, and I'm going to put it in my outer V. Now I'm going to take that same brush and go into the Dupe shade from the Makeup Revolution. Now with this shade, I can definitely tell a difference that the Lorac shadow is quite a bit more pigmented and easier to place on the lid or in the crease or outer V or wherever it is I'm putting it. Okay, now I'm going to take my Luxie 205 fluffy brush here, and I'm just going to blend both sides. And this is just an empty brush. This is just a bare brush, and I'm going to go ahead and blend in both sides. Okay, now I'm going to go into the gold shade in the Lorac Pro palette, and I'm just going to use my finger and I'm just going to dab that onto the lid. And the dupe color from the Makeup Revolution. And this one, I totally notice a difference. Okay, so now I'm going to take my BH Cosmetics 105 brush. I'm going to go into the Lorac Pro palette, into the one called Deep Purple again, and I'm going to put that right underneath the lash line. And back into the dupe side in the Makeup Revolution palette. Okay, so that's the finished shadows. I've got Lorac Pro on this side, and I've got the Makeup Revolution on this side. I don't know if you guys can tell a difference. There is little bits of difference, but not terrible. So let me finish up the rest of my makeup. I'll be right back. Okay, so really, I mean, my final thoughts are, guys, is that both palettes actually do pretty well. I have worn the Makeup Revolution palette before. I've also worn the Lorac Pro many times. And between the two, I don't really notice a difference in the staying power. Now, I do use eyeshadow primer every single time I wear eyeshadow. So the staying power on both of these were actually pretty good. I did not notice like one fading over the other. However, some of the colors in the Makeup Revolution palette are just not quite as pigmented as the ones in the Lorac Pro, and you probably saw in the demo. For example, the gold shade that I used in the demo that I applied just to the center of the lid, the Lorac Pro palette was much more pigmented than the one in the Makeup Revolution palette. I had to actually go in and dip my finger back into that gold several times to apply to build up the pigment. Also, that was another thing with this Makeup Revolution palette, was because a lot of the colors weren't quite as pigmented, but they were buildable, I would have to keep dipping back into the shades and reapplying, whereas the Lorac Pro, I could dip in one time, apply the shade, and blend it out. The Makeup Revolution palette, once the shades were applied and built up to the consistency that I wanted, they were actually really easy to blend out. Now, the Makeup Revolution shadows are not quite as soft and creamy feeling as the Lorac Pro. The textures are a little bit different, which I think does make a difference in the pigmentation. However, they are both just as powdery, so you really got to be careful. If you dip your brush in too hard into the Lorac Pro, they're so soft that they are very powdery and you'll get a lot of fallout. The same with the Makeup Revolution. Even though the Makeup Revolution is not quite as soft as the Lorac Pro, if you dip your brush in too hard, you're going to get a lot of kick up and it's going to give you some fallout on your face. So, I mean, in that sense, they both kind of do the same. Anyways, so as you guys could tell, I can pretty much get the same exact look out of both palettes. It's just that the Makeup Revolution takes a little bit more work to make it look the same as the Lorac Pro. So, in my opinion, are they comparable? I would say for the most part. The Lorac Pro, in my opinion, is definitely a better palette. And I feel that it is worth the $42 for the Lorac Pro because I just love this palette so much and it's such a nice consistency of shadows and nice pigmentation. But if you don't want to spend the $42 for the Lorac Pro, the Makeup Revolution Iconic Pro, the Iconic Pro 1, which is what this one is, the Makeup Revolution Iconic Pro 1 is actually pretty comparable. It's, like I said, about $10, maybe $10. If you don't mind working with them a little bit more to build up the color, you can get the exact same look out of this as you can this. So, guys, those are my thoughts on the two palettes that I'm duping today. I hope you guys found this video informative, and if you did, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. Also, guys, you can look me up on my website at www.rockfabulousonline.com, which will be going under construction pretty soon, so in a couple of weeks it might go down for a little while. But you can also look me up on Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, all under Rock Fabulous 40s. And guys, don't forget to hit subscribe down there somewhere, and you too can rock your Fabulous 40s, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.